I believe there's a few different ways that the winch can be wired. Here's the winch, and it has two, a black and a red wire coming out of it. And my understanding is in order to run the winch, it needs to be hooked up to some kind of controller. One option, you can get a hardwired controller that connects, that you can purchase, and then that connects, and then it connects up to the controller in your RC car or truck, and you can start and stop it using one of the extra channels that it has in the controller. Another option, which is the one that I'm going with here is also a controller, and this controller responds to wireless connections, such as even like an extra channel on your remote controller, or in this particular case, I purchased the wireless remote that will talk to it. While we're talking about wiring a little bit, as a general rule, the red wire is plus, the black wire is minus, and that's true for all these different components. And if you zoom in on this controller board, a couple terminals says plus or minus with a W, and I believe the W means it goes towards the winch. So this is the cable that would plug into the winch. And then you have this other plug that's plus or minus, and it has a B. And I believe, in my case, I think the B stands for battery. So these are the wires that would connect to the battery. These are the wires that would connect to the winch. And the battery in the truck that we're going to put this in is a 7.4 volts. I've noticed there's different voltages on different RC vehicles. The rating on the winch says it'll work for anywhere from 6 to 12 volts, including this controller. So the 7.4 is well within that range. And instead of one of the reasons I went with this fully self-contained winch, controller, and remote is I wanted to be able to use this winch in lots of different applications where I wasn't connected to an RC vehicle, or if I just wanted to hook it up to something else. So I decided to go with these components. And while it was going to be put into this truck, I thought I would just wire it up to the same battery that came in the truck. And here's the battery. And so what I did with this battery was I cut the power connections from the battery, and I added these little plugs here. One plug goes to the end of the wire that goes into the truck, and the other one is just now an extra one. And so how we're going to wire this is we'll take the power from the controller, and we can just plug it into the battery, right, just like that. In fact, you can see when I did that a little red LED on the controller turned on. And then I take the winch and I can plug it into the controller, just like that. So now we got the whole thing hooked up. And when you first do this on the first time, there's kind of a pairing thing that you have to go through in order to pair the wireless remote to the controller, which is the same as if you're pairing I don't know whether it's Bluetooth or what, but I've already done that. So at this point, with it plugged in, I should be able to push the up or down buttons on the remote and get it to work. So let's just try that. Let's try winching in, see what happens. There, it worked. How about out? Okay, so it looks like we have successfully installed the components, wired it up to the battery, and now we can run the winch with the remote. When deciding where to install the winch on the truck, most of these trucks, and in the case of our house moving trucks, were based on military vehicles that you could get at pickup surplus. It's a good thing for this. And most likely, if they came with a winch, the winch was on the front bumper. And so here's the front bumper, and here's the winch that I'm thinking that is available. Since this is a 10th scale winch, and the truck is more like a 20 scale, the winch is like twice as big as you would ever want. So it's too big to go there. So what I was thinking was that maybe if we could mount this winch inside on the, let's see if we can get it to stick in there, and then run the winch line up through the front. So as you can see, it fits inside, it'd be hidden. And then we could run the winch line out the front and just make some kind of a dummy little roller there that looks like a winch with a bumper. In fact, the stock bumper that came with this truck, it looks like about the right. In fact, you can even see it has kind of a fake fair lead built into it. You could almost just mount that bumper right on the front and run that through that hole. And then you'd have a winch that looks like a winch in the front, but you wouldn't see it anywhere else in the truck. And in fact, it would be hidden inside here. And I think I'd like to do that eventually. But then I got to looking, even another idea is that this truck comes, when it comes from the factory, it has this toolbox in the back here. And I thought maybe one thing we could do here is remove this toolbox. It's got these two little screws inside holding it in. And get the screws out with this almost too big screwdriver. I almost got it there. There's the toolbox removed, and the winch then could go in the back. And what I find is so amazing is, look at that, is it's almost like it was made to fit into the back of this truck. It without any cutting, without any modifying of the winch or the body of the truck, it just kind of fits right in there perfectly. So maybe if I can drill some holes and mount some screws in from the bottom. And this is probably looks correct. If you were to build a truck like this and you mounted a winch in the back, so it's like as a big tow truck or something, that looks proportionally like it would probably fit. And then when we build some kind of a boom here on the back and use this as a tow truck or a winch truck, then it would probably, I think that's probably the way to go. At least for now, I think that's the way we'll go with it. I went ahead and drilled 4 holes in the bottom. You can see where those hex head screws are. And I went ahead and drilled them. And I mounted the winch in here. And I realized even more cool is that a winch is centered. You know, and what I mean is centered is that the winch cable and drum are centered on the truck. Because a lot of times winches will be wider on one side than on the other. When you go to mount them in a spot, it's sometimes hard to get to where the winch line is actually centered. But in this case, you know, this side here probably sticks out just a little bit, and that side looks good. And I think it's going to work out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. I went ahead and finished mounting the winch into the back of the truck and ran the cable out. And I also finished building this boom on the back of the truck that has these chains here that hold it up. And just for fun, I thought, okay, here's a typical load in a house moving job of what you would use a truck like this for. And so I'm going to go ahead and try the winch. Looks like it went up. Looks like it went down, just like it's supposed to. Here's the final wiring. I probably made the wires a little too long, that they had to be, I wanted to be flexible. But I need to tie down all these things underneath the cab, make them look neat. But it's going to be good enough for today. Okay, now that I've tucked all the wires inside, I think the leads may have been a little longer than they needed to be, but I got a couple of rubber bands wrapped around them. Probably not the best or permanent, but everything seems to fit inside. Cab closes, you can't really see what it is. You can see the rubber bands from underneath, but that'll just have to do for now. Now we'll test all the electronics all at the same time. Let's see, it looks like the wheels still go back and forth like they're supposed to. Winch goes up like it's supposed to. Time for a test drive.